So
Is it they need to announce that if both players report?
Two people can't report. I don't want to talk about it. All right. I explain everything pregame to a T. Okay, I did that. 70 reported, 58 didn't, or 68 didn't. We threw it to 68. That was the explanation.
And we can see the frustration in your face. Can you just explain where it comes from right now? Is it?
What would you be? Would you be frustrated right now?
I mean, is it on the call? Is it on the execution? Is it, what is
I don't like losing, Dave. And that's what happened. We lost. And that bothers me. Bothers me. I don't like having an L.
Dave Burkett, the question there. Mike Garafolo, maybe some answers here. Our NFL Network insider. I don't know if we have any answers here. Mike, you and I were both watching the pressers, trying to make sense of it. It sure sounds like Dan Skipper never reported. That's what he says. Taylor Decker claims that he did. And it sounds like Brad Allen assumed that Decker was reporting because he was coming in off the bench.
That's what it seems like. And first of all, Dan Campbell did apologize to Dave Burkett. He says, I'm sorry, I'm not directing this at you. It's just this frustration with the situation. Dan Campbell, always great when dealing with the media. So they run Skipper toward where Decker and Penei Sewell are. And it's a way of kind of creating some interference for the defense, right? And make them think like Skipper's coming in and make them think like, well, we won't even listen to the number. Oh, he's been reporting all day, so it must be him. And then we'll trick him because 68 is going to be the one that's going to be announced. Now, the pool report, which is all we can go on, one reporter is designated to have an interview with Brad Allen. During that interview, Calvin Watkins, who conducted it, asked what that conversation was because there was someone else, and that's Decker, who came up to Allen. And Allen said, the conversation is where 70 reports to me, and then I go to the defensive team and I say, number 70 has reported as an eligible receiver. Well, that's a contradiction there because Skipper says he didn't say anything, so there was no conversation. The only thing that potentially could have happened, and you see in the angle that ESPN showed, the wide angle, Skipper's coming on the field, and perhaps he does a little of this, maybe to kind of dress it up and make Dallas think that he was reporting. And if you make some kind of gesture, a lot of times the referee will accept that. But that's not a conversation. That's a gesture. That's a different deal. And Allen never looks at Decker. He's looking the whole way at Skipper, and he's saying, you? Yeah, okay, and goes to make the announcement that he reported in. Doesn't seem like he even acknowledges Decker there. So that's the miscommunication in all this. The Lions are going to probably ask for even further clarification. I don't know what more we're going to get. We're going to try our best. But that's where we stand right now with how this thing went off the rails.
And the Cowboys said afterwards, and this is key here, I believe it was Jordan Lewis, saying, hey, they told us 70 was eligible, so that's what we defensed. If they had told us 68 were eligible, we wouldn't have let them run free in the end zone.
And I had this argument with Rap Sheet earlier today off the air. He's saying, well, if they'd announced 68, they would have covered them. I said, Ian, you're giving defenses way too much credit. Sometimes there's a reason why they're running that interference and making it look one way. I know a lot of times Larry, Ringo, left, right, and defenses they got to do the, oh, wait, left, so it's my right, and they can't figure it out that quickly. That's the point of what the Lions were going to do, and I think it would have worked if they had announced the correct player.
It sounds like they tried to confuse the Cowboys and instead confused Brad Allen, which is unfortunate.
He's a bit of it, yep.
Yeah. All right, Mike Garafolo, stay there. Let's figure this out from Cynthia Freeland's Lions fan perspective. Dan Campbell's fired up. Jared Goff was fired up. Jared made a point of saying, listen, nothing's rigged here, people. This isn't part of a script. They made a mistake. How are you today?
I'm sad, but look, let me explain this to you to a T. The thing is we saw Dan Campbell not throw the ref under the bus. So if you're looking at that presser and you're confused, the reality is that's a man with a lot of emotions who really, that's how you know Dan Campbell's a real leader, because he could have sat there and whined and complained and done something a little bit differently. We don't know the answer. In fact, I actually think Mike McCarthy should be sending Dan Campbell a thank you note. Why?
I said the same thing.
Had he not, we would be talking about, why did you throw it on second down?
Why'd you throw it on second down and give him an extra 40 seconds?
Leave him all that time.
Again, that is why it's all, we don't know, right? And we can't go back in time. I just think, all you have to know about Dan Campbell's leadership got answered for me. Not that I needed it to be answered, but you saw that man, he held back that was hard to do. that was hard to do. So I give him a lot of credit.
But that's because he got fined $50,000 had he said what he really wanted to say.
Sometimes it's worth it to say it, you know?
But let's also make this abundantly clear. Like you heard Dan Campbell say, I let them know to a T. I explained it to a T. Coaches do this all the time.
Yep.
Before games, they'll go up to officials. I'm going to run a fake punt with these people, blah, blah, blah. This is nothing uncustomary. And now let's get to this tape because Brian Baldinger posted this. So you're seeing the formation. Penei Sewell, normally the right tackle, he's actually covering 70. So even if you say he's eligible, he here now is not eligible.
Correct.
He is covering him on the right side. On the left side, you're seeing Taylor Decker. He's in the circle. He is a free and eligible receiver. He is uncovered. Okay, but they did this in 2021 against Seattle Seahawks. Same formation, a little tighter splits on the right side, but it is the same look. Tim Boyle actually throws it to Taylor Decker. This is nothing new. So Dan Campbell, clearly they have practiced this. They brought this back out.
They've communicated it with other refs.
They have communicated it with the officials, whether it happens in the officials meeting, whether it happens on the field. These communications happen. So again, Dan Campbell just didn't want to face the fine, but I'm sure there will be letters sent from the organization to the NFL. And I will say this, and I know who I work for right now. But the fact that the NFL has not made an explanation to anybody yet today tells you the review that they are going because they see that something is wrong here.
And let me give you the quote here from Jared Goff. He said on the podium, pretty confused. What I do know, and I don't know if I'll get fined for this, but I do know that Decker reported. I do know that Dan Skipper did not, and I do know that they said that Dan Skipper did. So clearly there's a miscommunication as to who was and who was not ineligible. And with that, the Niners can wrap up the 1 seed today if they win and if the Eagles lose. All right, let's get back to Garofolo here because this is not the only thing going on here. Interesting in Buffalo, where there is a healthy scratch of note on the inactives list, Mike.
It's Von Miller, and Von Miller did not have an injury designation on the injury report. It is a coach's decision from what we are told. It has nothing to do with his legal situation. It has nothing to do with his injury situation, and they still expect him to be a contributor as they move along, but it just won't be today. He has no sacks on the year. He has 3 tackles on the year, and I remember doing a Thursday night game against the Buccaneers midway through the season and talking to general manager Brandon Beane, who said, we're going to pass some mile markers here. We're going to get a little bit of a bye after this Thursday game. We're going to get the real bye coming up in a bit. Then we're going to get the 1-year marker for Von Miller from his ACL injury. And we think at some point along the way, he'll start to pick it up. And he just hasn't at this point. So we'll figure out the full reasoning after the game. Sean McDermott will surely be asked about it. But Von Miller inactive today against the Patriots. Damar Hamlin as well. He was listed as questionable with a shoulder issue. But Micah Hyde is back. And usually when Hyde is in, Hamlin is out. That is the case today. So perhaps Hamlin could have gone if the Bills needed him. But in this case, he is inactive. We know he has been the odds-on favorite for much of the season for the Comeback Player of the Year award. But because he's been inactive so much, Joe Flacco now seems to have thrust himself into the conversation. So perhaps Flacco taking the lead on that one there as well after his performance the other night. One more for you. Josh Jacobs, the running back, has a quad injury. He will not play today for the Las Vegas Raiders. Another game missed for Josh Jacobs. They were able to win against the Chiefs last week without him. So let's see if the Raiders can do that again against the Colts.
Real quick, speaking of Flacco, good job by you on that interview with Flacco after the game on Thursday. And I apologize for stealing your microphone during the pregame.
Did you review the tape?
I have not. I haven't seen the tape. I think you gave it to me, honestly.
I gestured. It's kind of like the Skipper thing. Like you make a gesture. You know, I moved the mic, and you assumed he's giving me the mic, so you took it. So
I
we're
wasn't
both
even working.
in the wrong.
Yeah. Anyway, Happy New Year, Mike. Mike Garofolo, everybody. Meantime, let's look at the AFC because it really is a huge day in the AFC. If the Ravens win, they are the 1 and they get home field today, but the door is very much open here for the Dolphins. Kansas City still has not wrapped up the West. Jacksonville can wrap up the South today. The Browns seem locked in as the 5, but what if I told you that could change as well? Because let's show you the Ravens here. Ravens win today. They win the North and they get home field throughout the AFC playoffs. If they were to lose, however, and it goes to Week 18, the Browns do have a chance to steal it. As for the Dolphins, they can win today and win the East, and then they go to Week 18 with the potential to wrap up home field throughout the AFC as well. or the Dolphins can win this thing today, win the East. That is, if the Bills lose. This is such a huge game in the AFC here in Baltimore with Cam Wolfe at M&T Bank Stadium, and the Dolphins offensively, Cam, pretty banged up.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. No Jalen Waddle, no Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins, but they still do have Tyreek Hill. And I just watched Hill warm up a few minutes ago. He looked as healthy as I've seen him in pregame since injuring his ankle a few weeks ago. And he's also got some good news for the Dolphins. Ravens are down Kyle Hamilton, their star safety, and cornerback Brandon Stevens. And so although the Dolphins have key injuries, they also are dealing with some Ravens injuries as well. The last time the Dolphins played here in Baltimore, Tua went for 469 yards, 6 touchdowns. Cheetah went for 190 and 2 touchdowns. So they hope to do that again today. But a big thing that's been the talk this week has been the Dolphins' speed versus the Ravens' physicality. Jadeveon Clowney told me we think that's the story of the battle, and we think as long as we don't get out schemed, we can win this game. You heard Patrick Queen say we play a style of ball that people don't want to play. We don't play the cute grass on the field. And the Dolphins hope to prove they're not just this speed team. They'll have to do it without Mostert, as I mentioned earlier, but I just talked to running back coach Eric Studesville, who said we have enough guys. So expect them to lean on Devon Achane and Jeff Wilson to get that run game going.
Yeah, I would not use the word cute to describe the way the Ravens played on Christmas night.
That's like, he's cute.
Yeah.
You know? Bless your heart, like a Southern put down. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, but look, I want to get to the fact that Kyle Hamilton, that safety, is not playing. That is a major blow because he does a lot of stuff for this defense. So this is where Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith, to me, are big truth tellers like they were last week against the 49ers. You're seeing Roquan Smith here against the run, but the fact that they can cover with their speed in the mid-level and the intermediate passing range on that defense, that's where Miami is probably going to have to throw some with Waddle out of this game. So, again, their ability to instinctually make plays like this, I think it's going to be a huge factor in this game, Cynthia.
Well, I'm looking at this one, and you're talking about the Jalen that's out, and I'm going to talk about the one that's in, as in Jalen Ramsey. Interestingly enough, we talk about, will he shadow someone, will he not? What's going to happen with that situation? But if you look at the configuration of the 49ers defense and you compare that to the configuration of this defense, it's very different. The front is good for the Dolphins. It's elite for the 49ers, but the back is elite for the Dolphins. And I wouldn't say it's elite necessarily for the 49ers. So I'm curious to see how these intermediate passes, how these deeper passes, how this kind of improv situation goes. And will Jalen Ramsey stay put, or is he going to come down and try to, like, you know, maybe get a little Isaiah Likely time in there, or potentially come down and see if Zay Flowers wants to meet him, you know, say hello to him.
Highlighting Jalen Ramsey because the matchup between him and Lamar Jackson will be interesting.
Right.
These guys know each other really well, and Ramsey said that Lamar is the most difficult player to defend in the NFL. His ability not only to run but to pass the ball has helped him be the MVP frontrunner. And I talked to his tight end Isaiah Likely this week. He said too much about Lamar is about what he does with his legs. He believes he's been an elite quarterback this year because of his ability to throw on all 3 levels. The Dolphins defense will be challenged, but they think they can bite back. This has been the top defense in the league since Ramsey has returned from that injury, and they also get the return of Javon Allen. He is back for the first time in a month, and he's good to go. I watched him in pregame workouts. He smiled and gave me a thumbs up. So should be a fun battle, Lamar versus this defense.
Cam Wolfe there live in Baltimore.
Smiling
Cam,
and giving you a
happy
thumbs up.
New Year to you.
Happy New Year,
Thank
Cam.
you,
Happy New Year.
sir. And Cynthia, Happy New Year as well. Back to NFL Game Day morning.
If you can't tell, it's New Year's Eve.
I love it.
Shimmery dress.
I love it. All right, the ball has not yet dropped, however, in the AFC West, because the Chiefs still have not won this thing. It is New Year's Eve day, and the Kansas City Chiefs have not yet won their 8th consecutive division title. They can do it today if they were to beat the Bengals or if the Raiders and Broncos were to lose. But I don't know, James Palmer. The Chiefs team that we saw on Christmas did not look like a Chiefs team that's ready to win anything today. And, oh, by the way, it's just the Bengals coming to town.
Yeah, you look at those Chiefs and you look at what they want to correct, Andrew, as they have the Bengals coming to town. I've covered matchups between these two teams over the last several years. I think I bet at almost every single one of them. I don't think this is what we thought. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense struggling against Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals, but that's what we have. And I mentioned those struggles with Patrick Mahomes. What he looked at the film this week, what stood out to him most is his eyes dropping and looking at the defensive line. We know that's something Mahomes doesn't do when he extends plays. He's always looking to create and throw the football. He was looking down because Max Crosby and company hit him 10 times on Monday. They sacked him 4 times. Now, Cincinnati, people I talk to there want to go and do the same thing. Have him drop his eyes. Have him drift deeper in the pocket. That's another one of the things that Mahomes wants to correct, because when he does that, he's trying to extend plays and trying to make big plays too often. Trey Hendrickson will be going against Wanye Morris, the rookie left tackle. And Trey Hendrickson, guys, might be the most underrated pass rusher in all of football. Second in the NFL with 16 sacks. He is relentless in how he gets after the quarterback. What they do, him and Sam Hubbard up front on the edges, making Mahomes drop deep again, is exactly what Cincinnati wants to do, like what the Raiders did on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely, JP. You know, you talk about Sam Hubbard. He pushes a lot of that traffic into Trey Hendrickson. But, you know, also we're hearing that the Chiefs have also dialed back some things in their playbook just so everybody can get on the same page. Hopefully they dialed up some runs in that run game, because Patrick Mahomes has got to get some balance in that offense. Teams are sitting on him, like you're seeing right here with the Raiders. They're sitting on some of these pass routes because they're getting hands in the secondary on the receivers, not letting them go. And they're forcing Mahomes to play more hero ball than he's ever done. So if they can run the ball, let him stay more disciplined in the pocket when they do some run action passing, that is going to be huge, because we also know the Bengals have absolutely no fear of the Kansas City Chiefs on either side of the ball.
Yeah, and Steve, you mentioned that no fear, right? That's something that every team, every defense has feared from the Kansas City Chiefs. Explosive plays downfield, getting beat over the top. Cincinnati gives up more explosive plays than anyone in all of football, but they do get their number 1 cornerback in Cam Taylor-Britt. He returns. When I talked to corner Mike Hilton this week, one of your favorites, Steve, he said with Cam coming back, that will play a big factor in us limiting some of these deep plays. We think we're better on the back end, obviously, allowing explosive plays not to happen with his return. And you mentioned running the football. Mike Hilton also told me, we are well aware what this offensive line has been like, the amount of times they're in 12 personnel, multiple tight ends to help out these tackles. We know we got to stop the run up front, plaster Travis Kelce, and there is not, when I talk to guys in Cincinnati, a whole lot of fear for the rest of the group that Patrick Mahomes is throwing to. Mike Hilton told me when I watched the film, there's just no chemistry between Patrick Mahomes and those pass catchers.
Oh, boy.
No, none. And that was evident on Christmas night. 5th time these two teams have met, by the way. 5th time in the last 24 months.
I think I've been at all 5.
You know what? It's Big Game James, everybody. And there is an elimination scenario for the Bengals. If they lose and the Steelers and Bills win, then Cincinnati is out this afternoon. James Palmer ahead of an later kickoff, 4 p.m. Eastern time, 3 o'clock local there. Thank you, James. In Kansas City, about to kick off in Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, one of 10 early games. They get the Arizona Cardinals today. Cowboys won last night. Can the Eagles win today? Followed on Game Center after we're done on the NFL channel. You're watching NFL Game Day Kickoff. You are looking at Jalen Hurts. Right now, the Eagles at 11-4 have the 2 seed. They win 2. They win the NFC East today. They're about to kick against the Cardinals. More from Omar Ruiz.
Hey, Andrew, even as the Eagles snapped their 3-game losing streak, beating the Giants on Christmas, we saw frustration on the sidelines. We heard it in their comments. Even Nick Sirianni saying he's got to watch the tension that he shows on the sidelines. But the fact remains, the Eagles have won 8 one-score games this season. So I asked Sirianni this week how they balance gaining confidence from winning when they're not playing their best, and then the frustration that comes from not playing their best. And he says they have a never satisfied mentality, but they do have to enjoy the wins. But it's that relentless pursuit of improvement that makes good players great. Dallas Goedert told me they have plenty of those, evidenced by the 2,000-yard receivers. DeAndre Swift is 12 yards away from becoming a 1,000-yard rusher this season. Jalen Hurts, of course, and the offensive line. But Goddard said they still are in pursuit of that 60-minute, all 3 phases football game. They're hoping to find it here this afternoon against the Cardinals.
And what they are trying to do, Steve White, is look like a team worthy of winning a championship, which they have not looked like for a long, long time. They can still get the 1 seed. Now that the Lions lost, just win these 2, win the division, and have the Niners slip up once.
But the big issue for Philadelphia, I know Omar just talked about all the great successes they've had on offense, is defensively they are just leaky. I mean, that defensive front is not what it was. They are vulnerable to the run game. Their inside linebackers have been an issue all season, and now they've got some depth concerns, and their secondary is giving up explosive plays. Kyler Murray's playing for Arizona today. This is a team that's just basically playing with house money. This is a very dangerous game for the Eagles if they do not tighten things up on the defense and set the stage for their games in future weeks.
All right, this is all tied together, obviously, with the 49ers. The 49ers have beaten the Eagles. They have beaten the Cowboys. They do have the head-to-head against both. And as of now, the 49ers are the 1 seed in the NFC. They do control their own fate. Let's get to them. They are about to kick in about a half hour with Brock Purdy looking to bounce back. They are in Washington to face Kyle Shanahan's old team, the Commanders. We get that story, and we get the Niners clinching scenario, beg your pardon here. They can wrap up the 1 seed with a win and an Eagles loss. And we get the story now on the game, on the field, from our Sherry Burse.
The San Francisco 49ers team looking to get that bad taste out of their mouth from a Monday night loss to the Ravens. But here today, they look to do their part, getting a win. Also, a Philadelphia loss to lock up the number 1 seed in the NFC. And there is still unwavering faith in quarterback Brock Purdy, despite throwing 4 interceptions. Talking to wide receiver Brandon Ayuk this week, he says Purdy is not a game manager, but a game changer. This offense going up against a Washington defense allowing the most passing touchdowns this year. And Washington's offense is going back to quarterback Sam Howell. He was benched the last 2 games in favor of Jacoby Brissett, but Brissett dealing with a hamstring injury, and guys will be inactive here today.
Yeah, just bonkers. It was going to be Brissett all week, and then he pulled a hammy late in the week, and then, hey, Sam Howell, we benched you, but come on down here. For the Niners, Brock Purdy is not getting benched. Sam Darnold, looked good for about a minute there at the end of the game on Christmas. It is the Brock Purdy bounce-back game, too.
It is a Brock Purdy bounce-back game, but you know what? The last time he threw multiple interceptions in a game, and earlier in the season he gets to Minnesota, he followed that with a multiple interception game against the Bengals. Don't expect that to happen today. Baltimore put a lot of pressure on him, but they got the lead and forced Purdy to throw more than they wanted. He was up in a 33 attempts game. They're going to run the ball today a lot more to set up the run action. Kyle Shanahan showed unwavering faith in Brock Purdy, as have his teammates. That's going to be huge today. Again, as Sherry pointed out, they are playing a Washington defense that just isn't very good.
That has given up. He checks his notes here. 28 points in 6 consecutive games.
That's not good.
The longest streak in their proud franchise history. All right, that one's about to kick. We also have another one about to kick in Buffalo, where Josh Allen and the Bills are facing the Patriots, a team that they lost to week number 7. And funny now how things have turned around for the Bills. 3 weeks ago, people thought Sean McDermott was out. They're going to blow this entire thing up. No, they have 5 different clinching scenarios today if they are to win today. Now, all of them include games that are in the late window, but I'm telling you, Stacey Dales, there's a chance the Bills get in today.
Andrew, this is such a huge game for the Bills. They're not overlooking these Patriots. A big key for them offensively will be taking care of the football. Remember, the Patriots beat them in Week 7. Josh Allen had 2 of his 18 giveaways in that game. Now, he has cleaned those giveaways up. Over his last 5 games, just 4 giveaways, by the way, in which the offensive coordinator has been Joe Brady. And I'm told by a source with the team, the communication in game between Josh Allen and Joe Brady has been outstanding in terms of what the quarterback and play caller want. I did talk to Joe Brady out here, and he reminded me he was the quarterback's coach. Really unique relationship they had. They spent a lot of time together, so it's been really a seamless transition. As for facing this Patriots defense, they understand as the #1 red zone offense in football, they'll have to be on their P's and Q's, if you will, because this Patriots team, number 6, defending in the red zone this season. Andrew?
And thank you, Dales. This Patriots team, Steve, has played spoiler the last couple of weeks, beating the Broncos and the Steelers.
Look, you know, we had Gabe Davis, the Bills wide receiver, on the NFL Report earlier this week, and they talked about that loss to the Patriots. He talked about that loss to the Patriots. And the one thing we've seen the Bills do under Joe Brady is run the ball. That's not going to happen today. This guy right here, Stephon Diggs, is going to have to step up. 9 consecutive games without a 100-yard game.
Just nuts.
That streak started against the Patriots earlier this year. So Gabe Davis and this offense, they know they're going to have to throw the ball against this Patriots defense to make some plays. It'll be interesting to see if number 14 finally gets back up into triple digits.
So the Bills have won 3 in a row. In those 3, that guy there, Stephon Diggs, 101 receiving yards. Combined. But they've won all 3, and they're back in the conversation right now, and today could potentially clinch a playoff spot for the 5th consecutive year. That game is about to kick. 1 p.m. Eastern time on CBS. Coming up next, it's your fantasy final today. You're playing Christian McCaffrey, right? Of course you are. Right. Well, who should you bench? Who else do you need to play? Adam Rank is here to set your lineup next. We are inside of 30 minutes from kickoff now. Week 17. Here's who is up. Here's who is down. Jacoby Brissett's not going to play today. Sam Howell is back in the starting lineup. Zay Flowers, Michael Pittman, good to go. Puka Nacua, good to go. Raheem Mostert, not good to go. Nope. It is week 17, which means it is likely your fantasy championship today. Good luck to you and yours. That is why Adam Rank is here to tell you who you have to have in your lineup. Rank, who's your must?
When you saw that list, Achane needs to be in your lineup this week. And Zamir White is another guy. Josh Jacobs is not going to be playing today. So those are two running backs who can be carrying you in your fantasy.
Stick them in your lineup. And your must-start quarterback today is fascinating. I would have never thunk this one back in August.
It's true. Baker Mayfield needs to be in your starting lineup. He's probably one of those quarterbacks that you've been streaming over the last couple of weeks. He, along with Joe Flacco, some of the other guys. But he's been the quarterback for over the last 4 weeks, 9 touchdowns over his last 3 contests. And I know our coworker, Kathy, she's from Ybor City. She was asking me, can the Bucs win this game today? Absolutely, and a big reason why, Baker Mayfield.
If the Bucs win this game today, they win the NFC South, and the Saints are officially eliminated, not only from the South, but from playoff contention. Your must-start running back today is whom?
Najee Harris. A lot of people drafted him early this season. He'd been kind of a mild disappointment this year, but this is a great matchup going up against the Seattle Seahawks. They've allowed 15 rushing touchdowns to running backs this season. That's tied for second most in the NFL. They've allowed 9 top 20 running backs in the last 8 games, which means you can actually start both Steelers running backs, but I like Najee Harris just a little bit more.
Okay, your must-start wide receiver in a Week 17 championship game is fascinating.
Yeah, T. Higgins.
With Jamar questionable.
With him questionable, but T. Higgins has been playing really well over the last couple of weeks, especially when Jamar didn't play. But he's had at least 20 fantasy points in back-to-back games. The most important thing, one of my best friends in the world is going against me in our most coveted fantasy league today, and he's got T. Higgins, which guarantees a 30 burger. He had CeeDee Lamb last night.
So this is kind of like a personal thing. You think that your best friend's going to kill you because he always kills you, and so you're giving the advice off your best friend's roster who always beats you.
A little bit, yes. There is a little bit of that, but this is a really good play. I think that the Bengals, I think they're going to bounce back this week. I think they got a great matchup against the Chiefs. I'm going with T.
And they're going to double Jamar Chase like he said they're going to double him, because that's what they do, and try to take Jamar Chase out of the game because he was running his mouth all week. By the way, good luck to you and yours in your fantasy Week 17 championship. Time now, however, for Who Scores, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We're looking at the game of the AFC South. We got the Titans and the Texans, this time in Houston, second time in 3 weeks, and C.J. Stroud is back. He's part of a same-game parlay on DraftKings. We have Stroud, we got Nico Collins, we got, Tajay Spears, part of this as well. You throw it all together, and that could be your same-game parlay presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Who Scores? Don't forget, on DraftKings Sportsbook this season, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay every day. Download the app and use the promo code GAME when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours. Again, good luck, everybody. And good luck to the Rams, who have a clinching scenario today. They win and the Seahawks lose to Najee Harris and the Steelers, and the Rams are in today. It doesn't matter next week against the 49ers. We'll take a look at that one straight ahead as we get closer to kickoff on NFL Game Day Preview.
Ladies and gentlemen, sing it with me. Nakua Matata. Puka, Nakua, Puka, Nakua. Nakua Matata. Sing it with me. Puka, Nakua, Puka, Nakua. It means no worries. Hey, where's Puka?
Nakua Matata right there.
Puka, leaping catch. A rookie for the ages. Puka, Nakua, Puka, Nakua. Nakua Matata. He has broken 1,000 yards. 17, boy. It's long as an off. It's Nakua Matata. No worries.
Puka Nakua, very likely by the end of the day, will have both the reception and the yardage record for rookie receivers, which is just amazing for a fifth-round pick. And the Rams have a clinching scenario today. They win, plus the Seahawks loss in Seattle potentially to the Steelers, and they are in. They're the 6th seed to open up Week 17, and since the Week 10 bye, the Rams are 5-1. They are in New York today to face the Giants. Adam Rank, Steve Weich. My name is Andrew Siciliano. The Rams, Steve, doing it behind Kyren Williams as well.
Right. I mean, we're talking about Puka Nakua, the 1,000-yard receiver, but the 1,000-yard rusher and Kyren Williams, the physicality that he has brought to this run game, you saw it against Baltimore. And if the Giants today sit back in that too-high safety look, Sean McVay's just going to hand it to number 23. I mean, he's physical, but he also shows a little bit of burst that people did not realize that he had, and that's setting up the run-action passing game, and that's where Matthew Stafford is the most deadly. Because frankly, guys, when it comes to Matthew Stafford, no quarterback in the NFL is playing as well as him.
And really, it's all of these guys, all these components. And Kyren Williams got this huge opportunity. They sent away Cam Akers. Yes. And they said, and it's very rare in the NFL now that a guy gets to be just a solo running back, but that's what we've seen. But a big thing, too, is the wide receivers for the LA Rams. You talk about Matthew Stafford, this team being 4-1 off the bye week. It's because of these great wide receivers, starting with Cooper Kupp, a former Super Bowl MVP, and then Puka Nakua. I know a lot of people will be like, who saw this coming? You know what? You can watch the fantasy show. We called this a number of weeks ago. And also that, DeMarcus Robinson is also come out of seemingly nowhere to be a very productive player for them after Tutu Atwell went out. So for me, you look at this Rams team and you start looking at the question marks in the NFC. Like every team seems to have something, like there's something about them where you can pick apart and be like, they got a weakness here, they got a weakness here. I don't think anybody wants to play the Rams.
Nope. No, not at all. The weakness today could be left tackle, as A.J. Jackson is a scratch for personal reasons. Other than that, the Rams are, for the most part, healthy, and 8-146 today from Puka Nakua, and he ties the rookie record for receptions and yards in Game 16. All right, so that's that one about to kick in New York. It is such a huge day in the AFC here as well. Ravens can wrap up the 1 seed. If the Dolphins win, they can get it next week. The Chiefs still have not wrapped up the West somehow, which means the door is open for the Raiders, who opened the day as the 11 seed. They're on the road against the 7 seed, the Indianapolis Colts, who right now do have a wild card spot. However, Rank, if the Chiefs lose and the Raiders win, the Raiders have a shot to steal this division next week.
We want to see it, though. Like, weirdly, because we love chaos, and we want to just see everything that has been happening. I think, too, also the way Patrick Mahomes acted after the loss of the Bills. I think we're all secretly rooting for the Raiders, maybe openly rooting. I don't know. Well, big reason why, though, is this Raiders defense has been a huge turnaround, and we saw this on Christmas Eve. Was it Christmas Day?
It was Christmas Day.
They all run together at this point. I think the kids are home from school. I don't know what day it is, but here's the thing. This Raiders defense has a new identity, and ever since Antonio Pierce has taken over as head coach of this team, the Raiders look like an old-school Raiders type of team. Sure, this is the kind of thing that Al Davis would do back in the day, is find these coaches who didn't have necessarily a lot of experience. John Madden, Tom Flores, even John Gruden, Lane Kiffin. You know, these guys, he brings these guys along, or brought these guys along, and they were huge, and I think that we've seen that.
And, you know, Patrick Graham has done a very good job as defensive coordinator getting these guys together in the second year of the system. And Gus Bradley had it going with the Colts defensively early. But, man, lately they have gotten really leaky against the run game, and this could not be good. Even though there's no Josh Jacobs, Zamir White, who the Raiders has been playing well. Last week, the Falcons tagged this Colts defense for 177 rush yards, And in talking to Brian Baldinger in his film breakdowns this week, he said the Colts players are just standing up. They're playing too high, letting guys get into their chest. That cannot happen today with the way the Raiders are playing with this type of confidence. The Colts are in a do-or-die situation, and their defense, Zaire Franklin, and all of these players who played so well early on, they have got to man up and understand the importance of playing again against a red-hot Raiders team and what they're going to try to do today.
Elimination game for the Raiders. They are officially out if they lose today in Indianapolis. And since we went to the 17 games in 18 weeks format a couple of years ago, the Raiders have not won a game week 17 or 18. Gotta win this one today in Indianapolis. We roll on. We get closer to kickoff here on NFL Game Day Preview. 15 minutes away from Lamar Jackson and the Ravens trying to wrap up home field and a bye. All they got to do is beat the Dolphins, right? Easier said than done. We are in Baltimore. Coming up. Don't go anywhere.
The Buccaneers are looking at a 4-7 record. Got to stack wins soon. Fire the cannon! Touchdown Tampa Bay! Baker Mayfield shaking and baking. That was a hot shot thrown by Baker Mayfield. Let's go Baker. Perfect pass for Baker Mayfield. Just continues to get hotter and hotter.
The heat's in the kitchen. It looked like there was something cooking there.
Buccaneers, our 4th consecutive win here in December.
We're getting hot at the right time.
That's a recipe for success.
He's waking up feeling dangerous every week of play.
Yes, he is.
They're winning in today. The Buccaneers have never won their division 3 consecutive years, but they beat the Saints today, and they can do that. And not only can they do that, they can knock the Saints out. They can eliminate New Orleans. NFL Game Day Preview continues here. Steve Weich, the last 3 weeks, Baker Mayfield, 8 touchdowns, no picks. They're averaging 31 points a game.
Yeah, last 2 games, 74 and 78% completion percentage. And the last when they beat the Saints earlier this year, they're going for the sweep. That was their biggest win of the season in Week 4. Baker Mayfield was absolutely outstanding in that game. And you're seeing one thing they're doing. Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator, who is going to be a hot head coaching candidate, they're stretching the field, but they're also running the football. That's something they didn't do for 2 years, the last 2 years with Tom Brady. And now they're getting Mike Evans and other receivers involved. Chris Godwin is getting involved. And for Baker Mayfield to play this clutch down the stretch, he is clearly feeling, as you said, dangerous. And this is a game against an opponent with a pretty good defense that he can put some points up. So this is a good game.
This is why we're starting him in fantasy. He's been tremendous. And he's also getting Mike Evans paid for next year, too.
Yes.
He's getting himself paid.
As he should.
For next year. The Baker story has been phenomenal. To sit here week 17 saying the team's rallying around Baker and this guy's taking a team back to the playoffs and maybe facing the Cowboys. Wouldn't that be fun? Wild card weekend again, likely on Monday night. Buckle up for that. Here's what the NFC playoff standings look like right now with the wild card here. You got the Rams at 6, the Seahawks at 7. LA does have a clinching scenario today. There are elimination scenarios, not only for the Saints if they lose, but a Bucs win over the Saints would also officially knock the Falcons out. And the Bears, if they lose, they are out. Yet they are, sorry, Rank, barely hanging on here. Look, they're 6-9. I'm saying I'm sorry. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Some people would be surprised they're still in. They're in. That's the NFC. Now for the AFC.
It's the showdown of the top seeds in the AFC.
You got a lot of confidence.
A lot on the line. Ball comes out. Dolphins got it. Throw it to Mostert. Touchdown Miami.
Wide open. Nice little one-handed catch.
Pass deflected. It's intercepted. Lamar ducks under one sack. Extends. Still on his feet.
That is vintage Lamar Jackson.
The Miami Dolphins are good enough to be in a good football team.
Why the do we do this? This is why.
They dominant win.
I know who the MVP is. It's Lamar Jackson.
Another epic showdown back in Baltimore in the battle for the top seed in the AFC.
Only one team can truly be number one and truly get the home field, and that home field could be M&T Bank Stadium if Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens win today. If they beat the Miami Dolphins, it is that simple. Win and stay at home and take wild card weekend off. NFL Game Day preview continues with this one, a huge one, Steve Wyche in the AFC, and with Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins looking to come in and give us great Hard Knocks content and steal this from the Ravens.
It's such a good game, and with some of these injuries, the matchups are fantastic. Raheem Mostert is out, Jalen Waddle is out. So how is Tua going to manipulate this offense? Well, Kyle Hamilton, the do-everything safety for the Ravens, is out. That's going to open up some things in the middle of the field. Tyreek Hill, they're going to have some opportunities to get some shots. But the big thing to watch, where the Dolphins have struggled, is against these bullying defensive fronts. And we know that's how the Ravens get down. Can the Dolphins' offensive front give Tua the time to get the ball out there to the deep middle to Tyreek Hill? Because no matter what the Ravens do, Tyreek can still catch the ball with his speed in traffic.
Yeah, and for me, the biggest key for the Dolphins is Achane. This was a guy that I identified this summer as a running back that I wanted for fantasy, but I think he has a lot of ability. We saw it when he was playing at Texas A&M, and now he's getting his chance here with the Dolphins with Raheem Mostert out. It's a tough matchup against the Ravens. They've allowed the fewest rushing touchdowns to running backs this season. It is not going to be easy, but this is a huge opportunity. I love the creativity of Mike McDaniel and what he's been able to do as the head coach here. He's got this lineage as a running game coordinator going back to his time with Washington and San Francisco and all of those places. I'm really fascinated to see what he's got cooked up for today.
And I'm fascinated to see what the Dolphins do now that they finally did beat a good team, right? Jason Sanders and the Cowboys, and they did it last week on Christmas Eve. Now you got to go on the road and face the bully that beats up all the good teams. The Ravens have beaten 9 teams with a winning record. They are the opposite of the Dolphins. Any team that comes in there, save for the Browns, is beaten and beaten badly. And Steve, they don't just beat them, they blow them out like they did against the Niners on Christmas night.
Well, I mean, you know that they force the takeaways. They hit you defensively all 3 levels. And then on offense, they can just do so many things. I mean, the pressure that Lamar Jackson puts on defenses, people say, okay, he's going to take off and run. What you've seen more this year is he will run the ball towards the line of scrimmage, put a defensive back or a linebacker in conflict, have him come off of that receiver and just dump the ball off to Likely or to OBJ or one of those players. So they're playing smart football. They're running the ball with a trio of running backs that can really mash. I mean, they're just functioning really well. But this Dolphins team, again, matchup-wise, puts them in some interesting predicaments.
The Ravens do 6 wins this year against teams with winning records. 6 wins by 14 or more points. Yeah. Which leads us to our Sunday statement. And Rank, I'm not setting you up, but I'm going to have you go first with this one.
Well, thank you so much. There have been 8 times where the #1 scoring offense has played the #1 scoring defense in December or later. Those teams with the #1 offense are 5-2, which is why I'm picking the Miami Dolphins to win this game, to go to Baltimore. They're coming off, as you said, their first win over a team with a winning record. This sets up perfectly for Miami. I think with everything that happened last week with the Baltimore Ravens, that huge win on Christmas night, they didn't get to spend Christmas with their families. They flew in late from the West Coast, spent time with their family. Now this is the opportunity for Mike McDaniel to go out there and make a statement.
I love it. Call your shot.
Well,
White, what do you got?
We were just hyping up Baker Mayfield. Well, his big target today is going to be tight end K-Dot. And yes, I went to K-Dot already.
You're week 17, you're going to the K-Dot.
Well. K-Dot's going to get at least 5 catches and another TV. The Bucs clinched the division, and that man will be the star of the game.
Okay, I like it. K-Dot.
There you go.
That's a bold move
That's
here.
big.
Yeah. Here's my.
You don't like it.
No, I like it. Here's my Sunday statement. The Raiders are going to beat the Colts today. And the Raiders are going to be alive week 18. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to double dip this. I'm going to say not only do the Raiders beat the Colts, I say the Bengals beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
Let's go.
And week 18 means something. No, I'm not going to say the Raiders are going to steal the division and host a home playoff game against the Browns wildcard weekend. But that would be cool.
You want to say it.
That would be cool.
Right now, Marcus Allen is like, let's go, Andrew.
Let's go.
I say the Raiders are going to beat the Colts today. That is my Sunday statement. Hey, I'll say it again. Good luck in your fantasy playoffs, okay? Good luck. And good luck to your team making the actual playoffs today. Rank, White, Happy New Year to you guys.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you and yours out there as well. Be safe tonight. It's amateur night, people. Don't do anything stupid. Just stay in and watch football, okay? See ya.